Most of us grew up with the idea that more fluoride meant better teeth. And health officials believe that putting fluoride in water is one of the top 10 public health accomplishments of the last century. But new studies now say that too much fluoride is damaging the teeth of more than 1 in 3 teens. So for the first time in nearly 50 years, the federal government is reversing course and recommending less fluoride in water. Here's Ron Claiborne.
Ever since the 1940s, fluoride has been artificially added to drinking water to help fight tooth decay. It's been credited with reducing cavities by up to 50%. But even then, there were critics who complained about injecting a chemical into drinking water, a view satirized in the 1960s movie Dr. Strangelove.
Do you realize that fluoridation is the most monstrously conceived and dangerous communist plot we have ever had to face?
But today, the federal government called for reducing the amount of fluoride in water to protect children from a tooth disease called fluorosis, which stains and even erodes teeth. It affects as many as 1/3 of American children.
Making this adjustment now will promote public health, improve oral health, and reduce rates of fluorosis.
There's a twinkle in your eye when there's fluoride for their teeth.
For years, fluoride has been added to toothpaste and is in other products we eat and drink. The government says Americans are now ingesting too much fluoride. Its new recommendation, no more than 0.7 milligrams of fluoride for every liter of drinking water, down from 1.2 milligrams a liter. Cities such as New York, Chicago, and Minneapolis, and many others whose water has higher amounts of fluoride would have to reduce them to meet the new target. Dr. Griffin Cole of Austin, Texas, says he has treated some severe cases of fluorosis in children.
The teeth become brittle, become weak, and you have to treat them with either crowns or new facings, and it can be very costly.
Critics say fluoride can cause greater damage than just brittle teeth. Even the National Research Council, whose 2006 report was cited today by the EPA, linked it to bone damage and increased risk of fractures. The government says there's no evidence fluoride causes serious illness. The only concern for now, the potentially serious damage to children's teeth.
And the president of the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry says parents need to be especially vigilant about all the ways that children can ingest fluoride, including swallowing toothpaste. His advice, give them only a pea-sized amount on the toothbrush to make it much less likely they will end up eating a big glob of toothpaste with fluoride on it.
So
George.
don't overdo that rinse either.
And don't
like
overdo
the taste
the
of
rinse.
that. Okay, Ron, thanks.
First tonight, hazmat crews from all across our area responded to a chemical leak this afternoon in Rock Island. The chemical was so strong that it was burning through the concrete there. News 8's Christy Mergenthal has the latest.
It was just before 1 o'clock Thursday afternoon when hazmat crews were called to the Rock Island Water Treatment Plant for a chemical spill coming from this tanker truck.
It's a corrosive agent that the water treatment plant uses, and there was an overflow that caused spillage out from the building onto this driveway behind me.
As plant employees evacuated, crews began suiting up, working quickly to stop the leak that had begun eating through concrete.
And they stopped the leak using some earthen berms with dirt, sand, and some commercial boom equipment, and had it contained pretty much to this facility within a short amount of time.
The chemical hydrofluorosilic acid is used to add fluoride to the plant's water. Although it poses a burn risk to skin, those living nearby were in no immediate danger.
There's no inhalation hazard at all, so there was no need for us to evacuate any residents around the area.
After several hours, crews were able to clean up the leak, allowing operations to return to normal.
They had to cordon off the area, obviously, but as far as the treatment of the water and the amount of water being used by the public, there's no effect on that at all.
In Rock Island, Christy Mergenthal, WQAD Quad Cities, News 8.
Thank you, Christy. Investigators tonight still haven't given an official estimate on just how much of that chemical spilled out.
Can I just get your recommendations for proper oral health care? What can people do to eliminate at least reduce their exposure to fluoride and still maintain proper oral health care?
Well, let me first point out the fact that fluoride does not reduce tooth decay. That is a myth. And that, yeah, if you brush your teeth really hard with it, you can show a little bit of a difference. But there are other things that work much, much better that never get a chance in the marketplace because we're stuck on this fluoride, basically myth. Iodine, much more effective. In my YouTube channel that I have a video called Bad Bugs. And we talk about gum disease. People talk about tooth decay. Tooth decay is a disease of children because the malnourished children. most people lose their teeth because of gum disease. And that's a chronic disease that you get when you're a child, and by the time you get to be 30, 40, 50 years old, your teeth get loose and start falling out, or being extracted, or you get your gums cut off and bone graft, and you spend lots of money. And basically it's an infection that you can hose away with a water pick and iodine and salt and soda or something in there and hose it away, because they're swimmers. You can't brush them away. It's like trying to brush a fish away. If you took a brush and rubbed it around in the pond, is the fish going to leave? No, and looks at you like you're crazy. Well, the same thing's true of the bugs in your gums. They're swimmers. You can hose them away, and if you put something in the hose that they don't like iodine, you can hose them away and kill them while you're at it. And that's how you get to be oral health. I wrote a whole book on the subject. It's called How to Save Your Teeth with Toxic-Free Preventive Dentistry. And I've been making movies on it, a recipe for oral health. It's part of Bad Bugs. You can learn all this stuff just by Googling it and getting on my YouTube channel and watch it. Oral health is easy to create. It's just not treated right in this country. Dentists treat cavities with a drill. That's like using a knife to treat an infection. You got to keep cutting more and more off every time. Anybody's ever had one filling, had another one and another one and another one and another one, you say, well, if that solved the problem, how come we're doing this again and again and again and again? It doesn't solve the problem, because tooth decay is caused by a bug called Streptococcus mutans. And if you really cared about children not having cavities, whenever they went to kindergarten or preschool, they'd have all the little kiddies spit in a tube and that incubate it, and if it turns purple, they've got Streptococcus mutans. When you do that, 1 out of 5 children will turn that tube purple. So then you take that kid, have the mother brush the teeth with iodine or one of the bug-killing agents, and then you have them spit in the tube again, and you look until that tube doesn't turn purple. You got rid of the bug that causes tooth decay. I had a guy in my practice, he never brushed his teeth. There was gum everywhere. And his teeth were perfectly healthy. He didn't have a cavity in his head. His gums were pink and wonderful. But when we were looking under the microscope, he didn't have any crawlies. When he spit in a tube, it didn't turn purple. Believe me, it's an infection that goes from person to person to person. DNA testing shows it's coming from the mother or a grandmother or the caregiver to the child at about age 2. So it's a germ. It's transferred from the people that care for the child. All the germs in the baby's body come from mother. So, but if there happen to be a bad one in the mix, you can very simply get rid of it. You don't need it. It's not a valuable bug. Kill it. So it's gone.
What about fluoridated water then? If our community has it, how do we protect ourselves? Can filters take care of it? Do we have to resort to bottled, distilled water? What sort of options do people have?
The options are very few. The trouble is that fluoride, as I mentioned earlier, if you have it in your mouth, it goes up in your bloodstream. If you take a shower in fluoridated water, it goes up in your bloodstream. So if you have a community that is adding this terrible poison to the water supply, that you either have to abandon your community and go out to the country and find a house that's on a well, or move to another country like Mexico or Japan, or that doesn't put it in the water supply, Germany, France, Holland, one of the myriad of countries that don't allow it in the water supply. Or you can do what I'm telling people to do. Like me on Facebook, go to work and save your country. Because the problem is, industry is making billions of dollars off of this, and until enough of us stand up and say, stop it, they're going to keep doing it. It's making them money. So if we stand up and make them stop, they can find some other way to make money. Maybe do something valuable for our society rather than disposing of hazardous waste in our water supply. You got to work on it. It's democracy. There are more of us than there are of them. And so put your shoulder to the wheel and we will turn this around.
I know there's communities that do debate this, to whether or not to fluoridate. Do we know what percentage of the United States is fluoridated?
It's over 75%, and it's all the big cities. California was one of the least fluoridated states up until 1995, and it was a market. Why was California least fluoridated? Because over 100 times the citizens of California have gone to the polls and said, not in my water. So Cargill and all the people that have the product to get rid of, American Dental Association, California Dental Association, went around Sacramento and passed out a few $100,000. They gave Pete Wilson $100,000 to sign the bill, governor. He comes from a city that has a law against it. That doesn't keep him from signing that. And so buying legislatures at the state level, several states like Kentucky and California have mandatory fluoridation bill. Kentucky's had one of the oldest ones. You know what state in the union has the most number of people with the fewest number of teeth? That would be Kentucky. So the citizens have already spoken. They're buying billions and billions of dollars of bottled water a year, but you can't take a bath in it. What if you wanted to take a jacuzzi? What if you want to go swimming, work out at the gym? What if you're going to go in a sauna? You're going to get water, your body exposed to water some way or another. So we need to have water that's pure, and that's not what you get out of the tap. And that if they're trucking the stuff in from Florida or shipping it in from China, you definitely don't want to take a bath.